The bare knuckle game is totally different than the boxing game.
Big shots from Johnny Bedford.
He out.
Huge shots. Big uppercut from the Maria. Definitely turning up the pressure now.
As soon as you go in there, referee, box, that means you have to be going. And it's non-stop. For them 5 rounds, 2 minutes, non-stop. You have to keep throwing shots.
You know, Malignaggi, he's a little fucking pussy that plucks his eyebrows. I want to spark him. I'm not going in there to hug him, to give him high fives. I'm going there to try and kill him.
This for me is easy money because he's basically a punching bag with legs.
You're not fighting Jason right now. You're not fighting now.
I don't think dealing with Artem is going to be a problem. I think dealing with myself and doing things properly is probably more of a problem. And I've made the adjustments as camp has gone along. And you know, we've managed to kind of blend what we do well in boxing and kind of bring it to the bare knuckle aspect now.
The line is drawn. The road to Malignaggi Lobov.
Like I've been doing for about the last 10 years, when Artem comes to me with an idea, it's kind of my head in my hands.
My initial reaction, it was craziness. I was like, what? Once he has his mindset on something, it's over, so.
All these combat sports now are getting very popular. So why not bare knuckle? Bare knuckle, I think it's great.
Without the gloves, you're guaranteed to have a lot of cuts. So it's a little bit gruesome. How much head trauma is actually in a bare knuckle fight? I know it would be a hell of a lot less than it's in a regular boxing fight. That's for sure. 10 rounds, 12 rounds, 100 odd punches thrown per round. You're at 1,000 punches there, mostly to the head. And they walk out of the ring, and it's not that noticeable because they have gloves on, but the internal trauma is really there. With the bare knuckle, it's only a couple of rounds. It's a lot less rounds. The injuries are more superficial. It's not the heavy head trauma from a 10-round war in a boxing fight.
Cuts, the same thing. They look bad. They might be terrible for somebody that is planning to go into modeling after. In fact, the few scars on my face, it might even be an improvement.
Broken bones, I don't care about.
Broken bone is nothing. It heals very easy. It's very straightforward. You just put a cast on and it heals 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and you're brand new. It's nothing.
I think combat for a living is crazy in general. You know, I think, you know, you have to have a certain kind of DNA in your mental makeup to do this, to consider this. You know, especially bare knuckle boxing, but just combat in general. You know, I don't think anybody who does combat for a living is all there all the time. You know, to compete year in and year out and have a professional career in combat sports is not only dangerous, but it's a bit of you got to probably have a couple of screws loose. You know.
I think in combat sports you have athletes and fighters. Athletes play to rule sets, and in MMA you can very much play to the rule set to win. Fighters want to finish opponents, don't care about how to do it, they just want to finish people. It's more they were the guy, maybe 2,000 years ago, Artem was on a field holding up a severed head of somebody screaming at the opposition. He would have been that guy in the tribe. I would have been the guy that was good at running and stuff like that. Like, you know, I wasn't going to be the guy volunteering to go out there and have a sword fight, you know. Artem is a throwback to those times. He's a fighter's fighter. You need to have that mentality. If you don't have that, if you're going into bare knuckle boxing and you're not that person, you're more the athlete, I don't think bare knuckle is for you.
I am about to go in and I have to hurt this guy so much that he can't continue, and he has to try and do the same to me. That's a weird thing to do for a human, you know, so you have to prepare yourself a certain way, you know, mentally. So that's what this is, you know. I'm not going in there to hug him, to give him high fives. I'm going there to try and kill him.
I come from a world where I was among the best fighters in the world in boxing at one time in my career.
Paulie trying to answer the question, why do fighters fight
Okay, there were years of my career where I was among the best fighters in the world. Okay, this guy was never like that even in his own sport. So this fight is a mismatch from top to bottom. People just want to see it because of the beef. And you're going to see a lot of blood because of the beef, but this is going to be an assault on June 22nd.
He's been in boxing for many, many years. You know, he has won 2 world titles. He's faced some tough competition. Now, he got his ass whooped by every single one of them. He's never beaten anybody good. So that, of course, is a big factor. But still, you know, he managed to hang in with them. You know, he didn't get stopped by everybody. He managed to showed some toughness in there. But once again, that was back in the day. You know, he's not the same person anymore. And even especially when you talk about toughness, in order to be tough, in order to, when anybody else would say I quit, and for you to say I'll push on, you have to have that fire burning in your heart. You know, you have to have that want. You have to be wanting to compete, to be competitive, to be the best still. He is long gone. He wouldn't have retired otherwise. You know, he is long gone.
No, I think any fighter that has the heart to go into any ring and fight against anybody, they have to have some heart. And I think anybody that keeps going in, they have a heart.
He will literally come to me on a Monday and go, so coach, we're going to Ukraine on Saturday. I'll be like, what are you talking about? I got myself a fight. I'm like, what? He go online himself and start private messaging people, will you fight me, will you fight me? Until one guy says yeah, and he goes, I'm fighting that guy. I'm like, Artem, it's supposed to be like I set it up and we do training camps. He says, no, I just want to fight. I go, okay. And you know, he has both excelled because of that and he suffered because of that. He had some losses, accepting these crazy fights on such short notice, going from 145 to 170. I just think it's very hard to find someone, a genuine coach, a genuine fighter that won't look at that pathway and go, it's a bit crazy. I wouldn't recommend it for my next wave of guys coming up. But I'll tip my hat to it. That defines the mad samurai.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Yay. Oh, yes. Tell Dada what it is.
I'm a father feeding his cub now. You know, that's not something you can mess with. That's not something you can stop.
With Artem, there's always emotions involved. He naturally does a fantastic job at that. Because here's our first time seeing somebody with a lot of MMA experience going against somebody with a lot of boxing experience in a bare knuckle environment. I think a major difference, 2 major differences, one we already spoke about, the lack of gloves, and secondly, the additional clinch that happens in bare knuckle as opposed to pure boxing. But his Muay Thai and wrestling against a pure boxer, Artem is going to feel like a world-class athlete in those areas. It's going to be very off-putting to Paulie. That's maybe, I don't know, maybe he has worked a little bit on his wrestling, maybe he has worked a little bit in his neckties, but even if he was just to be doing that every day since this fight got announced, he's still 10 years behind Artem. So I think that's going to be a major difference in this contest.
We are, looking at certain things. Paulie's using certain people to help him from the MMA side, as far as grappling and stuff like that. But we're gonna make it where it's not. I don't want to reveal our game plan, but we're gonna make it where we're really not gonna be in those clinches as much.
When I grab him by the back of his head, he's going to feel like a bear just grabbed him. He won't know what it is. Because number one, technically, he won't know what is happening to him. And number two, physically, he won't know what's happening to him.
Well, there's always a little bit of a difference, obviously. But your base is your boxing. So, you're always going to go back to your base, and my boxing is obviously at a high level. So I feel very comfortable. Sure, there's some adjustments to be made. I think the main adjustment that had to be made was probably closing the hands properly. Within the glove, you don't always make a tighter fist, as tight of a fist as you should, because there's nothing padding you. So you have to pad your own hand by making sure it's closed tightly. So I think that was pretty much the main differences. It's more of a battle within myself and making sure that I do things correctly. I don't think dealing with Artem Lobov is going to be a problem. I think dealing with myself and doing things properly is probably more of a problem. And I've made the adjustments as camp has gone along. And we've managed to kind of blend what we do well in boxing and kind of bringing it to the bare knuckle aspect now.
Sit back a little bit. No, you just have to go forward and have to throw shots. Every shot counts, every shot lands. There are no gloves. It's like being in a blender. You just got put in there for 2 minutes, then you take a minute break, turns on again for 2 minutes, and then hopefully you come out safe and sound.
There's no doubt in my mind, Paulie is going to get caught at one stage or other. He knows it, I know it. It doesn't matter if Artem never boxed, he's going to land a couple of shots. Okay, so say if he does land these shots, will Paulie take them? I don't know, but we'll see.
Obviously, there were certain things that were said and done that my fighter has to trash talk. You know what I'm saying? And we're getting in his head by doing that, and I see that he did a great job on him already. So it's 2-0.
Paulie spitting at him and stuff like that. I think that you've gone way over the line doing something like that.
You know, so there is no line at the end of the day. Like, people ask me, oh, is there a line in trash talk? Is there a line? Maybe some of the time there is. In this case, that line was passed a long time ago, so I don't have to respect the line, because then if I respect a certain line that you shouldn't cross, then I'm the only one respecting it, and I don't need to be the only one respecting it. As a matter of fact, I don't have to respect anything about him, and I don't.
And I think Paulie has crossed that line many times, and I think the whole of boxing community is embarrassed for him, is embarrassed for his behavior. You know, boxing is always considered a gentleman's sport, and there's nothing gentlemanly about his behavior. You know, when you start spitting at people and you know, slapping people as a sly, you know, move, that's not what real men do. That's not what fighters do. That's just, there's no respect for that. No one respects that in any sport. Everybody can relate to that. You know, he thinks what, he got one up on me, that he slapped me while I wasn't looking. All right, mate, enjoy that one, but you didn't impress anybody with that.
There is not an ounce of respect I have for this guy. Not even a shred of respect I have for this guy. As a matter of fact, he's a great punching bag, and that's what I'm going to turn him into on the 22nd. This goes way beyond this fight, you know what I'm saying? So I've lost respect for this person a long time ago.
Don't worry, I'm gonna hospitalize you. You understand?
And you don't want to do it.
You're gonna get hurt.
Because you're going to get broken up.
Don't threaten me here, bro. Don't fucking threaten me here, bro. Don't threaten me here. Don't threaten me here.
Why do you allow men to slap you? Why do you slap? I
hope you bring the same intensity into the fight.
I'm going to hurt you.
You know, we're asking a marathon runner to do a sprint. And how do you think a marathon runner will do a sprint against other sprinters? Not well. And I'm a fucking sprinter.